All right, let's look at how we can create a NetBox instance running on Docker container. For this demonstration, I will use Ubuntu Server Virtual Machine running on Azure. I'm going to assume you already have an Azure account. If not, you can easily sign up and get $200 credit to play with. This is what I am using. I have a free tier subscription, which has its limitations, but it works for this video. So, let's begin. First, let's create a new resource. After clicking Add New Resource in Azure, follow these steps. Select Virtual Machine from the list of available resources. Choose your subscription and resource group, or create a new one. Name your VM, and select the region closest to you. For the image, choose Ubuntu Server 22.0 for LTS, or the latest LTS version available. For a basic NetBox setup, standard B2S or similar should suffice. For this demonstration, I will just use the B1S. Set up an administrator account with a username and password, or SSH public key. For this lab, I will just use username and password, but if you are running this in production, I highly recommend using SSH public key. Under inbound port rules, allow SSH port 22 and HTTP port 80 traffic. Under network, if you already have a VNet, select that, or just create a new VNet for NetBox. For the rest of the options, you can just leave it as default. Review and create the VM. Wait for the deployment to complete. Once the VM is ready, use the public IP to connect to it using SSH. Update the system packages using the commands in the description below. This could take a while to finish. Once the update is completed, it's time to install Docker. To install Docker, use the command from the description below, and wait for the install to complete. Okay, now let's clone the NetBox Docker repository. All commands are in the description below. From the NetBox Docker GitHub page, copy the URL, and use this command to clone the NetBox Docker repo. Once done, change directory to NetBox Docker. Under NetBox Docker directory, create a new file docker-compose.override.yml to customize the setup if needed. And that's pretty much it. Now just run the command to bring up the Docker containers. As you can see, the containers are up. You can run the docker ps command to double check. And that's it. You can now access your NetBox instance using your virtual machine's public IP on port 8000. Make sure to allow traffic to port 8000 under Azure Network Security Group.